Thank you, everyone, for coming to this talk, this presentation. We're going to be talking about physical penetration testing, some of the things that I do as a physical penetration tester. Let's jump right in. And there we go. So a quick note on who I am. I've been with Centercom for 6 years as an information assurance consultant, doing everything from internal and external penetration tests, NIST audits or HIPAA audits, things like that. I've been in IT for over 15 years. Was in the Marine Corps for 8 years as initially as a Humvee mechanic. And then I moved over to defense networking as an 0651. On the private side, I moved to, I started in healthcare information technology and eventually got up to medical imaging. If you're familiar with PACS, which is the other PACS, not physical access control systems, but picture archiving computer systems, that's what I worked on. I'm on the social media at Chadministrator, but I do not recommend you follow me. I never post anything. I am most active, though, for social media on the VetSec Slack. You can find me at ChadFUSMC. A quick note for Ryan Zagrodnik. Ryan usually gives this presentation with me. I want to give him a shout out here. He's got, if it weren't for him, this presentation wouldn't exist. Definitely want to give him a shout out. He had a minor conflict of being on his honeymoon, and he could not join us today, but wanted to let everyone know all the work that he did on this. He is on the social media at The Losing Edge, and also the co-founder of the Madison, Wisconsin area DEF CON group. You can find them at dc608.org. Just a quick plug for them. They do excellent work. If you're wanting to be on the red team or the blue team, every other week they're doing things. With the red team, it's doing a hack the box. For the blue team, it is the blue team equivalent of hack the box. It's super informative. It's a great community, and you should check them out. Why should you stick around for this talk? Well, I want to give this talk because physical penetration testing, physical security is the thing that motivates me. It's my most favorite kind of security. Network pen test, cool. Wi-Fi pen test, neat. But physical penetration testing, actually breaking into buildings and being James Bond, really gets me inspired and motivated. And the goal of this talk is to inspire and motivate you as well. This presentation is going to be basically a physical pen test story time with a bunch of memes because I want to make it fun and interesting and just give you an idea of what kind of things go on in this kind of work. And if you're a defender, give you some ideas on how to defend against these tactics. And if you are an attacker, give you some great ideas. Everyone knows the standard legal disclaimer. I am not a lawyer. I am not your lawyer. I will not be held responsible. These are for educational purposes only. Yada, yada, yada. Names have been changed. We're not going to give anyone's real name. Pictures have been changed. The goal of this talk is not to embarrass my clients. I want them to continue to be clients. Please don't sue us. If you're from Wisconsin, you get this joke about David Gruber. I'm not from Wisconsin either, so don't feel bad if you don't get it because I don't understand it. But Ryan thought it was hilarious, and we're going to keep it in there for him. So a quick note, what is physical penetration testing? Well, much like a network penetration test, a company is going to pay us to physically breach their to breach the physical security of their organization, whether it's a building or an office or things like that. We're going to document how we did all the things that we did. We're going to put it in a fancy report, and hopefully they'll be able to take some actionable items from there and improve their security for next time. We usually do these tests during whatever are the normal business hours for the client, whether that's 9 to 5, 7 to 7, or if it's 24 hours a day. We can come in at any time. Coming in outside of business hours isn't usually in our, as a company, our risk profile. But if someone asks for it, we may consider it. But we generally prefer to do things during normal business hours. The folks that we interact with, we want to actually be our client and not so much local law enforcement. That gets confusing. Before we do anything like that, we'll have a kickoff call where we discuss, the rules of engagement. What exactly are the buildings that we're attacking? When do you want them attacked? What are the objectives once we get in there? Data centers are often an objective, but different clients have different risk profiles. If I'm going to attack a bank, let's say it's a branch office for a bank, maybe they don't have a complete data center in that branch, but they do have a vault with safe deposit boxes, and maybe that is the thing that is important to them. If it's a hospital, sure, they have a data center, but maybe they're wanting to make sure that the pharmacy is secure from breaches. So we definitely want to tailor each of our penetration tests to the client that we have. We'll bring with us what we call a get out of jail free letter. It is a signed letter that says exactly who we are, what we're doing, and it has names of people from the company that, if they have any questions, call this person. They'll tell you exactly what I'm doing here, and they'll verify my story that I'm only pretending to break in. And with any luck, those folks will actually answer the phone and not leave me hanging. Before I get into some of the fun stuff, at the beginning, I want to give a thank you to all the folks that came before us. Jason Street, Deviant Olaf, the guys from Coal Fire. If you haven't heard of their story, it's crazy. Jack Hyde, the lockpicking lawyer. These are all excellent examples of physical security practitioners. They inspire us, and I'm sure that they'll inspire you as well. So we're going to look at Ryan's evil backpack here. Some of the things that Ryan takes on his physical penetration test. Maybe not all of these at once. And let me know in the chat if you can see this little circle that is magnifying. Can you see me highlighting the orange flipper 0? Excellent. I love when a plan comes together. So Ryan will bring with him, say, a laptop for testing network access controls, a prox card that could just be a prop, or he could program it if he's going to clone someone's badge. We've got some door shims right here for bypassing locked doors. This black pouch is a pouch of lockpicks. We have some, maybe these are expendable USB drives. If he wants to put some command and control software on them and just leave them around the office building. The last thing we'll talk about is this black piece of metal at the top. This is an under door tool. And if you don't know what that is, you can slide it under a door where, let's say, it's locked on your side. You cannot turn the handle, but the handle is unlocked on the other side. You can slide this under the door, grab the handle from the inside, turn it, and you're in the room. Some of the things in my evil backpack, again, I don't necessarily bring these on every engagement, but I will definitely bring some of them on every engagement. We've got some mechanics gloves if I'm going to be getting dirty or just doing things that are difficult on the hands. I like to use those with the door shims because it's a thin piece of metal. It kind of hurts a little bit. Well, we've got some Wi-Fi, some wireless adapters if I'm doing a Wi-Fi pen test in conjunction with the physical pen test. Flipper 0, USB drives again, lock picks. These keys are kind of a favorite thing. These are just common keys to laptop docks or filing cabinets or things like that. But down here, I've got these silver keys. And these silver keys are Ford fleet keys. If you think of a company that has a fleet of vehicles, Ford will usually key those vehicles alike. And those 7 keys are some common keys for the Ford fleet vehicles. It is a dream of mine to have a physical engagement where I just steal a truck, drive it straight off the lot. It's going to be a memorable day for me, either because it was awesome or because it's my last day at work, but memorable nonetheless. So those are just a few of the tools that we might bring on any one, on any particular physical pen test engagement. Let's talk about some actual engagements. Once again, names have been changed, companies have been changed. We don't want to embarrass anyone, but Company A for me is the very, very first physical pen test that I had ever been on before. We're going to talk about this same company. They had 2 locations I was attacking in geographically different areas that were pretty exciting. The first one was in a larger sort of metropolitan area. It was an office building where my client rented 1 or 2 floors in the building. They didn't own the entire building, but my objective was to get to one of those floors. And my first pen test, I'm just going to try the front door and see what happens. And if you walk in the front door, it's a large open space. The entire floor is empty, except for a security desk on my left with 2 guards and some turnstiles where you have to swipe your badge to unlock the turnstile, and then you can proceed. Those security guards were not letting me into more door. They just weren't having it. They didn't believe I was there to fix the Wi-Fi. They didn't believe I was there to deliver a pizza. If I wasn't on a list, I wasn't getting back there. That was the front door, and those gates were pretty well secured. The problem was that the gate to more door in the back of the building was not so great. And I was able to just walk around that gate a little bit. There was no security in the back where they had sort of a delivery area for UPS and FedEx and things like that. And there was a dock manager there who challenged me one time and wouldn't let me pass, but he didn't really have great visibility onto the entire area. And long story short, I was able to sneak past him, get on a freight elevator up to the floor I needed, and get on and get in the building that way. Once I was there, had to tailgate someone into the actual office space, and it was interesting because this person saw me tailgate her, and she knew that it was wrong, but you could see, like, the hourglass was spinning. Her CPU was pegged out. She didn't quite know what to do, so in the end, she just decided to keep walking, and I kept following her, and I got in there. And found an empty conference room, plugged in my laptop, told the network pen test team I was there, tried to run some C2. That wasn't working. So I needed to do something. I needed to get on someone's actual computer. So I walk around, I find an empty desk, I find an unlocked computer. I just plop down. And I'm typing away, trying to get a shell, trying to run my C2 software on my USB flash drive, and the person sitting next to that empty desk, immediately her radar is pinging. This isn't right. This isn't good. The person who owns the desk comes back. She's not buying any of my story. She doesn't believe that I'm Chad from IT here to install a printer or do anything. Now, the thing about physical penetration testing that I most love is that you have to think on your feet. If I'm on a network pen test, I can do an Nmap scan, and I can find an open port, and I can find a vulnerable service, and then I can go over here and I can get on GitHub and download some tool to attack this service, and I can run it, and then it doesn't work. So I go back over here and I edit the code, and I've got all the time in the world. On a physical pen test, when someone is staring you in the face, asking you what you're doing there, you need to be able to think on your feet, and it's exhilarating. It's terrifying, but it's exhilarating. And I'm looking at my phone and I'm scrolling through emails, pretending to look for a work order. And I tell her, no, I'm sure I'm supposed to be here. I've got a work order to install a printer. Yes, here it is. I need to install the printer for, you're Jean, right? I need to install the printer for Jean. I just picked a name, and her face went from scowling to so happy. Oh, Jean? Oh, Jean is right over here. You have the wrong desk, sweetie. And just that fast, it was that crazy, where her mood and her temperament changed, and she wanted to help me so much. And of course, I'm one, in shock, and I can't believe that worked. And two, I gotta play the part, and I'm hamming it up. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed. She instantly defused, just like that. And to wrap up this story, because I can already tell I'm going to run out of time, I walk over to Jean's desk. Jean has gotten up from her desk. Jean's going to go use the restroom or something. I don't care about Jean at all. I walk past Jean. I don't give Jean the time of day. I go up to her empty desk that has an unlocked computer now, conveniently. And I go up to Jean's desk mates and I say, "Hi, I'm Chad from IT. Jean called and said she needed a printer installed. Do you mind if I sit down and take care of that for her?" And all her desk mates are so happy. They're so happy IT has come to fix a problem. And absolutely, you can sit down and get on the computer. And now I plug in my flash drive. I run my C2 stuff for the network team. I get on her Microsoft Teams or Skype or whatever it is, find my point of contact. And I say, "Hey, this is Chad from Centercom. FYI, I'm in the building." And that was my very first physical penetration test. It was pretty exciting for me. How do you defend against this sort of thing? Well, I'd never have gotten into the building in the first place if the security to the back of the building was as good as the security to the front of the building. Have people there that are on patrol, or just have more of them checking things out. If your front door has the door lock and the deadbolt and the chain, and your back door is just a screen door, you're going to have a bad time. So same company, the second location, excuse me. I access the building 2 separate times. The first one is in the evening time. We're going to talk about tailgating once again. I don't know if this is an actual term. I just call it reverse tailgating, where I had my my fake badge, and I was standing outside on the corner of the building by the door. I was waiting for someone else to leave. I didn't want to tailgate someone in the building, but when I saw someone approaching the door from the inside because they were going to exit, I walked up myself, put my fake badge up to the reader. It didn't work, but it didn't matter because that person thought I was supposed to be there. As far as she knew, the badge worked. And when she opened the door to leave, she held it open for me, and I got in, and that was pretty neat. Once again, I'm Chad from IT. That's another recurring theme because that's the only cover I can believably sell to someone. I told folks that I had just transferred from their data center in Milwaukee, which I thought was believable because I knew that they had a data center in Milwaukee. But I got challenged there, and folks were starting to not believe me. And eventually they had some other folks come up and just to confirm my story, who do you say you were again? And they said, well, that's funny, Chad from Milwaukee, because I'm from the Milwaukee data center and I don't know you. So things went downhill rather precipitously, and I got caught. So reconnaissance is pretty important there for that reason. The next day or maybe 2 days later, reconnaissance is going to come up again because this was an office building in a foreign country. I'm not exactly sure how folks dress up to the office, but business casual has got to get me close enough. So nice button-down shirt, some slacks, looking every bit as handsome as this guy here. And I thought that would work when I walked in the building. However, that is what I saw. That was me, and that was them. Me, them. And when they looked at me, this is what they saw. Once again, things went downhill precipitously. But that's the importance of reconnaissance. If you're on the attacking side, definitely know what you're getting into. I did the best I could. I didn't know what things were like in that country. I'll do better next time. If you're on the defending side, once again, security awareness. Not exactly tailgating. Front gating kind of sounds weird, so reverse tailgating, but giving people that education to know when something doesn't look right. That person that let me in as she was exiting the building, I wish she had been taught better. I didn't say she had known better. I said I wish she had been taught better, because it really is incumbent on these companies to train their employees on how to do these things. So company letter B, company Bravo. This is going to be a conversation about request to exit sensors. If you don't know what a request to exit sensor is, imagine you're walking into a building, you have to have a badge to get in. You're on the unsecure side, you want to get to the secure side. You need to authenticate yourself with a badge to swipe it or scan it or whatever. If you're already on the secure side and you need to get out, you don't want to have to scan your badge to get out of the building. That could be a fire hazard. So you have a request to exit sensor that will detect when someone is approaching the door, automatically unlock it, and you can walk right out. This client had some vulnerable request to exit sensors that just usually they work by detecting a phase change in temperature, maybe, or not a phase change, just a change in temperature, or maybe they're a motion detector. I was able to take some compressed air that I conveniently have right here. I don't know if we'll be able to see this on camera, but if you've ever taken a can of compressed air, held it upside down, you see that vapor, that gas. One, it has motion. So if it's a motion sensor, it will trigger that. Two, it's extremely cold. And if it's checking for a change in temperature, it will also detect that. And I was able to use that to get past the request to exit sensor. One of the things that I found out, this was a physical pen test in the times of COVID. You see the note that says work from home equals free storage. I got into one of their network closets and I found some snow tires. And I asked what this was all about. Why are you storing, tires to your Jeep in the network closet? And they said, there's snow tires and no one's at the office, so no one's going to know. I was a cool guy and I did not put that in the report, but I advised that person maybe the network closet was not the best place for his tires. If you've never seen this request to exit sensor bypass, this is a video from Deviant Olaf. And let's just see how this works. I don't know if we're going to get audio, but this is a bank here. The door is locked. He's got a glass of whiskey. He's just going to take a sip and spit in between the two doors. Whether it's the motion of the spit or the warmth of it, that's a temperature differential, it was able to trigger that request to exit sensor, and he was able to open the door. And that is how that works. How do you defend against this sort of thing? These request to exit sensors, the cheaper ones will just look for any motion. They'll look for any temperature differential. You can get fancier, more expensive ones that will not just look for motion, but they want to make sure that that motion is in the shape of a human and that the motion is approaching the door, not going away from the door. They'll not only look for a change in temperature, but they want that change in temperature to be an increase, for example, of body heat, whereas the compressed air trick would be a change in temperature that is lower. Those are kind of expensive. They certainly have their place. I like to recommend request to exit buttons, where it's just maybe like a momentary switch that you press the button and it's off to the side. It's not visible or reachable from the outside. And you press that button, either you press it for a second and it's unlocked for 5 seconds, or you press it and hold it and then you have to open the door. And I recommend those because I think they're equally as effective, if not more effective, and they are so much cheaper than those fancy request to exit sensors. Sometimes that's not feasible. It really depends on the building codes or fire codes in your jurisdiction or the client's jurisdiction, but that is what I like to recommend. Company C. This was a fun. Actually, they're all fun to me. Every pen test I've been on is my favorite for one reason or another. This one was fun because it was a hospital, and I got to dress up like a doctor. I was allowed to. I had worked in healthcare IT before, I mentioned, and I always saw these doctors and nurses, and they had these fancy white lab coats, and I always wanted one. But if I'd gotten one back then, I would have just been playing dress up. There was no purpose to it. This time, I had a valid reason to buy one. My boss let me expense it. And if you see right here, you better believe I got my name embroidered on it because I wasn't sending back to the office. It's in my closet right now. That thing is mine. But this was for a hospital. Once again, reconnaissance, my reconnaissance failed me, or maybe I failed my reconnaissance, because this was a very small town and it was a very small hospital. And when I showed up, dressed up like Dr. Chad, I quickly came to the realization that this hospital had 2 doctors and I was not either one of them. So that was not going to work. So I've got a fake badge here. If anyone has ever seen the show Firefly, he's got a picture of Jane from Firefly on the left there, and he always wears that Blue Sun shirt. Well, that's what my badge is. I work for the Blue Sun Corporation. And let's see. Quick story here is I was at the hospital. I was trying to get in. I was going back to the hotel, and there was a computer shop along the way, and I just sort of curiously on a whim, I wanted to see what was what's going on at this computer shop. What do they have there? And I'm talking to the guy, and I see that they do business to business services, or they work with businesses. It's just not for home computing. And I'm striking up a conversation. I say, hey, do you ever do business with companies in the area? Do you do business with the hospital? And he says, oh no, we used to have that contract, but it went up to Acme IT in the next county over, and anything that's not in house is serviced by Acme IT. So I got my fake badge. It didn't get me into the hospital because anyone can walk into a hospital, but it did allow me to walk up to maybe a nurse at her nurse's station and say, hi, I'm Chad from Blue Sun. I work for Acme IT in the next county over. And do you mind if I take a look at your computer? I just need to update some software. And that was pretty effective. So getting that, I don't know how else I could have gotten that reconnaissance, that open source intelligence gathering, if I hadn't stopped at that computer shop before. So that was just a neat thing that happened for me. I thought it was super fun. The hospital could have all the security in the world. However, they had some office buildings at one end of the hospital, and they rented those out. And at some point in the past, they had a reason to run a network line and make a network jack on the outside of the building, and it hasn't been in use, but it's still live. So I walked up to the outside of the building, didn't have to breach anything, sat on the ground and plugged in my laptop and was on their network. That was a pretty good day. How do you defend against this? Please don't have live network ports on the outside of your building. It's just that simple. Don't do it. All right, this is the last company, and I think I'm really good on time, which is awesome because I want to have time for questions if anyone has them. But this is the last company we're going to talk about. Two different locations. This was a bank. This bank was actually they actually did a really good job. Not a great job. I still got in, but they had some good policies and procedures. They just were not executed super well. So at the first location, once again, who am I? I'm Chad from IT, of course, because that's all I know. I said I was there to fix the Wi-Fi. There was a receptionist, and this was more of an office kind of setting. Maybe it was private banking, but it wasn't a bank like you walk into your neighborhood bank and there's a teller and there's an ATM. It wasn't that. But there was a receptionist, and we're gonna call her Sally. And Sally says, "Well, I don't have you on my list. I don't know who you are, so why don't you have a seat over there, and I'll try to figure this out." Now, as a physical penetration tester, no, it's not my job to win. It's not like I don't want to own anybody. I want to give them every opportunity to catch me. So I'm absolutely, I'll go sit over here. I'll wait. I want her to follow the process. That's a great thing to put in the report. I don't just want to tell these companies all the things they're doing wrong. I want to tell them the things that they're doing right and that they're doing well. And this actually did get in the report as something they're doing well. The problem for Sally was that she knew the process, she knew the procedure. I've got to check in these vendors. He's not on my list. But when she couldn't figure out who I was, when she was calling people and no one was answering the phone, the process for her kind of broke down and she wasn't sure what to do. So she called me back up to the desk and she said, "Chad, I can't figure out who you are. I can't get a hold of anyone. Here's a number to call." She slides me a little post-it with a number. It's like, "You need to call Ray and get this figured out because I can't let you in until I get the okay." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure. I'll definitely call Ray and say, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm not on the list, but we're going to get to the bottom of this, together, teamwork." So I'm going to call Ray. What I actually did was I got on the Slack channel to the rest of the team and said, "I need someone to answer the phone right now." And Ryan was available. And instead of calling the number that she gave me, I called Ryan and he pretended to be Ray for me. And I handed her the phone and said, "Hey, I got a hold of Ray." And Ryan says, "Hey, Sally, this is Ray. I forgot to put Chad on the list. I'm so sorry. That's my fault. But he's definitely supposed to be there. And you should absolutely sign him in and take him to the network closet and open everything up and unlock the doors. Whatever he wants, you should do it. Thank you." That's exactly what she did. So for the company, I gave them a B+ for security awareness. They're clearly doing something. They're clearly doing security awareness training, but there's a gap. Sally didn't know what to do when the process broke down. She didn't know who to call or how to ask for help. No one was answering the phone for her. She was alone, and she did the best she could with what she had. So Sally, I'm going to give her an A. Not an A+ because she still let me in, but I'm going to give her an A because she was sincerely trying to follow the procedures. But the company got a B+. There's they're clearly doing some things right. There's a gap they needed to do a little bit better, and still better than most organizations that we see. All right, we've got about 10 minutes left. I'm so glad because I desperately wanted to get to this one. This was my most favorite. I think that shocked Pikachu. That's me. We'll find out why here in a second. This was the same company. This was a bank. This was actually the bank that you think of, where there are some tellers. There's an ATM to drive around, and I wanted to get in. I didn't know what to do. I had zero plan, first of all. But I walked in those first double doors, and I saw that there were some stairs to go to a second floor. And instead of going to the main banking area, I went upstairs where I'm not supposed to be, to some office area. And I found a receptionist, a secretary, an executive assistant, or whomever. And we're going to call her Megan. And Megan says, "Hi, can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm Chad from IT again. I'm here to fix the printers." And I don't know if it was training or if it just threw her off so much that somebody just walked upstairs. But she said, "Oh, yeah, well, here's the printer. Sure, do whatever you need to do." So I looked at the printer and I pretended to fix it, which means I just printed a status page and said, "Hey, you're good to go." And that was that. But I still needed to get downstairs to the banking area. I wanted to get behind the teller line. That was my goal. I wanted to get behind the teller line, maybe to the room where they have the folks that help you out at the ATM or the drive-through banking. So I said, "Megan, are there any other printers like this one, maybe downstairs?" And she says, "Sure, I'll take you down there." And this was incredible. I couldn't have planned it better myself. Now Megan is escorting me downstairs. Now Megan is introducing me to the staff downstairs. I don't have to say a word. Megan says, "Hey, everybody, this is Chad. He's from IT, and he's here to fix the printers." Just beautiful. So they let me fix one of the printers in the break area. But the problem was that the manager downstairs, she wasn't buying it. She didn't think I was completely on the level. And so while I'm looking at that printer in the break area, she gets on the phone to her director. I need some names again. Well, we're going to call the manager Ann, and we're going to call the director Susan. So Ann, the manager, calls Susan, the director, and says, "Susan, I got this guy here. He says he's here to fix the printers. He's in the break room right now, but I don't know what to do." And Susan says, "Let me talk to him. Let me see what's going on." I get done in the break room, printing the status page. I've got one more printer, and it is behind the teller line, and I need to get to it. And I'm about to go. One of the other employees is about to let me in there. And Ann comes up and says, "Hey, Chad, before you go back there, I need you to come into my office for a second. We need to have a conversation." It's not a good way to start a conversation. And I go back to the office, and Ann is there, and Megan is there, the one that the secretary from upstairs. Susan is on the phone, and Susan says, "Hi, who is this?" And I said, "Well, this is Chad. I'm from IT. I'm here to fix the printers." And she says, "You're Chad from IT to fix the printers?" Like, "Yeah, absolutely." There's a long pause, and she says, "Wait a minute. Are you here to update the firmware on the printers? Because I've had a ticket on that for like 3 weeks." "Yes, absolutely. I am here to update the firmware on the printers. Thank you for knowing exactly who I am and telling everybody." Susan is not involved in this. She's not looped in. She just connected these dots on her own and decided that I was definitely the person there that was to fix her problem. And even though Ann, the manager, still didn't believe completely who I was, her director just told her that I'm supposed to be here and that she needs to let me update the firmware on the printer behind the teller line. Chef's kiss. It was amazing. I could not believe that had worked. One of the reasons that this is my favorite one now is that when I got done with all of this, I was able to go back. I was able to go talk to these folks that I just lied to and explain to them everything that I had done, how I did it, and at first they were not happy with me, but then I see the chat. Does your report include you need to fix your printers? No, they did not make it in the report. But I got to talk with them and explain, what I did and how I did it and how they can do better. And they really took it to heart. They really understood what happened. They got less mad at me. I think they were still a little mad at me, but I think it was my most impactful engagement I'd done to date, and that's really why I do it. Once again, I'm not here to embarrass anyone. I'm here to make folks better. I'm here to improve security. How could they have defended against this? Well, once again, it was an issue of policies and procedures. And some folks kind of knew that I wasn't on the level, or they strongly suspected, but they didn't know what to do. And I think they knew that they had made a mistake by letting me in the first place, but they didn't want to admit it. And you need to encourage your staff to ask for help when they're in over their head and admit when they made a mistake. I don't like to name folks in reports because I don't want anyone to get in trouble. That's not the goal. And no one ever asks me to anyway. But the goal is to make organizations and employees better for me being there, not worse. So conclusion, we talked about security awareness training. It's huge. It's huge. Your staff, your employees are your first and best line of defense in almost all situations. Network access control. Please don't have live network ports on the outside of your building. There's no reason for it. Physical security. If you have physical security, make sure that your employees know how to get a hold of them. Give them the chance to challenge people, and if things aren't, sounding right, or if they don't look right, tell them to call the physical security that you have on site. Other tactics, techniques, and procedures, that we didn't discuss here, that under the door tool, the flash drives, iCopyX is an RFID badge cloner. It is kind of like the Flipper Zero, but it only does badges, but it does a lot more, many different kinds of badges than the Flipper Zero can do. Set up a fake interview, bring in coffee and donuts. If you have a zip line, definitely set that up and get in the building. Once again, that was definitely something added by Ryan, and I left it in there because I think it's valid. Other talks, here, just a few. Deviant Olaf, I'll let myself in. Jason Street. Here are a few examples from Darknet Diaries. That is the end of my talk. I think we have time for maybe one or two questions from everyone, but thank you so much for stopping by and attending this with me. All right. I think we're at the end of the line. So if you want to get to another talk, feel free to do that. I'm going to hang around here and try to answer some questions. And if I don't get to you here, or if you miss it, once again, I'm in the VetSec Slack. Go to the physical security channel, and I'll be hanging out there as well. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.